Hello, I'm Gary Thomas. That's a picture of me with gold balloons. I thought gold balloons would be fun on that particular day. This is my free guide, 25 questions to ask your characters. There's my website that says, "Hi, I'm Gary." And there's me with some more balloons. So obviously you now have this, and that's why you've got this video. Please make sure you join the Facebook group, because I'm going to start posting a lot of things there about characters and screenwriting in general. But how to use this guide, because I know a lot of people give out PDFs and then they don't really, that's it. That's the only thing they give, and you have to kind of guess how to use them. But this document has 25 questions, so I thought I would just go through them and give some examples of how you might use this in real life, in real practice, as you begin to think about your screenplay. Maybe you only have a log line of your screenplay, you only have one sentence of what your film screenplay is about or what your TV series is about. Maybe you have an outline and you want to kind of make it stronger. You don't know who your characters are. I know for myself, I will have trailer moments in my head. I will have this idea, which will be like one sentence of this film idea that I have, and then I will have a think about like trailer moments. What are the cool moments? What scenes might be in this film, this screenplay, for this idea that I have? And then I stop at that point, and then I start thinking about the characters and start thinking about who are they and what do they do and how are they interesting. So the first few personal questions are like, where did they grow up? How did this influence them? Are they gay or straight? What issues about relationships cause them the most internal turmoil? In this question, for example, it's a big question, and you can always, if it's safe for you to do, you can always use your own life to look into this. I know for me, like my parents, didn't get on and they were arguing all the time. So that was like, I was like, from an early age, I was like, wow, relationships aren't worth that much, they're like they don't seem worth it. They seem like a lot of work and a lot of heartache to have relationships. But that's what I thought, like from a very young age. And then obviously as an adult, that's really, really kind of impacted me in terms of, having relationships. And I think I'm kind of over that now, but, it took a long time. But like if your character has issues about relationships from their parents, from their childhood, and what causes them the most turmoil, that could be really interesting key moment for your character. And they would have, if it was a romantic drama or even a romantic comedy, you could actually have that come out towards the end of your screenplay. And then finally, the guy or the girl, or two guys or two girls, like they both reveal their internal turmoil and why they act like they do, and they finally, because they've been able to be honest with each other, that could be a really powerful scene in your screenplay to actually write, and to actually the characters come out with that, or one of them comes out with that and tells the other, and then they're able to move on and maybe get married or maybe just carry on the relationship or whatever. And so that's kind of one way of using this type of question. Then you have this other question, who in the character's life is causing them most conflict? And this could be someone in your script. It could be someone from the past. So it could be someone from your past that is not in your screenplay at all, but they have this grudge against this person. And maybe somebody in your screenplay acts just like they did, and it's a real trigger for that character. A really interesting one is, how old are they when your screenplay starts? Now, I've almost never really thought of this, because I'll have an image of someone in my screenplay and that kind of dictates how old they are. But it might be interesting to really think about, how old are they? Are they in their 40s? Are they in their 20s? Somebody in their 20s would act very, very differently from somebody in their 30s or 40s. Somebody in their 30s would act very differently from someone in their 40s or 50s. So you can really kind of think about that, and how would that affect the characters and what they do in your screenplay. Love life is always an interesting one. When thinking about love, what scares them the most? Is there anyone in high school or growing up they had a crush on? Is there a love triangle that they're involved in? Love triangles are really interesting, especially for romantic comedies. You have this this pairing who become a couple, and then somebody else, like an old flame, is a kind of trope in a way. And it happened in Anyone But You. One of the characters has an old flame. Yeah, they had a relationship, and it alters the dynamic of that relationship. So that's interesting. Have they ever had an affair? Maybe this kind of triggers a load of questions for you, a load of other questions, and a load of interesting moments for your characters. And that could be a screenplay in itself, that your main character has an affair. That's always interesting to explore. And do they want to get married? Are they already married and then they have an affair? Are they just, are they Ross and Rachel and they're just boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were on a break, and Ross had this affair and he doesn't think it's an affair, Rachel does. So that's always kind of interesting to look at. Work is often interesting as well. I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, the amount of characters in films I've seen at work. I've watched Her recently, and you see the guy at work, he writes notes on behalf of people. So that's kind of an interesting job that he has. What do they do for work? Do they like or love their job? Somebody hates their job and wants to escape is an interesting kind of character choice. What would they like to get out of their job? Maybe that's part of the screenplay. Are they successful in their job? Do they have habits they do when they're successful? What's their dream career? Maybe they're stuck in a dead-end job and it's not their dream career at all. So you can put all of these answers to these questions down, and whether or not you have an idea already, if you do have an idea already, then it will enhance your screenplay. And if you don't have an idea, it might actually trigger ideas for you. And one of the things, if you have like one idea that you don't feel is strong enough, then maybe kind of try and find another idea that's really good, and maybe you can put them together. So the character that you have, they get a new goal often in the second act of your screenplay. So at the midpoint, it's where characters' wants and needs collide. And actually that's a question I'm not sure I have here. What do your characters want? And what do they need? But that's generally, people ask that anyway. So yeah, what do your characters want and what do they need is really good. But hopefully you will get that out of asking all of these other questions. But like in Back to the Future, for example, Marty McFly wants to get back to 1985 because he's stuck in 1955. However, he interfered with his parents meeting for the first time, and if they don't meet, then obviously he won't exist. So his new goal at the midpoint is he has to make sure his parents get together and they kiss on the dance floor. So the first half of the film is all about how can Marty get back in time, get back to 1985. And the second half of the film is how can Marty get his parents together so he will survive and his family will survive, and then he can get back to 1985. And that really ups the stakes. So that's always kind of an interesting one to look at with the wants and needs. Families are always interesting. Again, Anyone But You. They have two families that come together because they're getting married. And that's really interesting because there's two scenes in Anyone But You where everyone is together, and it creates a real tension for those scenes, which is really cool. Really cool thing to do. Marty McFly in Back to the Future, his family, that a lot of the sort of opening few minutes are his family. His mum is literally, they're around the dining room table and his mum is explaining how her and her dad first met. Now, this is not an accident, because when Marty is back in 1955, he remembers what his mum has just told him. And his mum has just told him that they went to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and that's where they kissed for the first time. So because his mum told him that in the first few minutes, maybe the first half hour of Back to the Future, because his mama's, as we've already in the first 10 minutes of Back to the Future, but because his mama's told him that story, he's able to know where they should be to fix them getting together and to make sure they have their first kiss on that dance floor. And so the second half of that movie is all about Marty getting his parents together. So here is a link to the Facebook group. Please join, because I'll put lots of interesting posts in there about characters and everything, and I hope you enjoy going through this document. Feel free to email me or post a message into the group with what ideas you have.